Imagine a world teetering on the brink, where the once unshakable pillars of global power crumble, under the weight of insurmountable debt, sparking a chain reaction that reshapes economies and fortunes overnight. Picture nations, proud and sovereign, gasping for breath as their currencies falter, their bonds turn toxic, and their leaders scramble in vain to stem the tide of collapse. In the midst of this chaos, a humble metal, silver, often overshadowed by its golden counterpart, emerges not just as a refuge, but as a weapon, a strategic powerhouse driving prices into the stratosphere, potentially soaring to $500 an ounce or beyond. This is no mere market fluctuation. It's a sovereign collapse tsunami, a relentless wave of crises that has weaponized silver, transforming it from an industrial staple into the ultimate hedge against a fracturing world order. And in this documentary, we'll dive deep into how we got here, why it's happening now, and what it means for the future of wealth and power. As the calendar flipped to 2025, the cracks in the global financial system widened into gaping fissures, with sovereign debt crises erupting like volcanoes across the map, from the United States' ballooning deficits to emerging markets buckling under the strain of post-pandemic recovery and geopolitical strife. The U.S. national debt, already a staggering $35 trillion at the dawn of the year, surged further amid fiscal policies that prioritized stimulus over sustainability, leading to a debt-to-GDP ratio that eclipsed 130%, a level that economists warn signals impending doom. Investors, sensing the fragility, began fleeing fiat currencies en masse, pouring into tangible assets that couldn't be printed or devalued at the whim of central banks. But silver, with its unique duality as both a monetary safe haven and an indispensable industrial commodity, became the unexpected epicenter of this flight to safety. Whispers in trading floors turned to roars as prices doubled from $20 an ounce in January to $50 by year's end, a 100% gain that outpaced even the most bullish forecasts, driven by a perfect storm of supply shortages and insatiable demand. Yet, this is just the beginning. Analysts now project silver could rocket to $133 or even $200 by 2030. But in the heat of crisis, those numbers feel conservative, as the weaponization of silver accelerates, turning it into a geopolitical chess piece, in a game where nations vie for control over scarce resources. To understand this sovereign collapse tsunami, we must journey back through history, where the echoes of past crises reveal patterns that are repeating. With eerie precision today, think of the 1970s, when the oil shocks and the abandonment of the gold standard sent inflation spiraling, and gold prices exploded from $35 to over $800 an ounce. In a matter of years, a surge of more than 2,000% that left investors who bet on precious metals as the new elite. Silver, too, had its moment. In the spotlight during the 1980 Hunt Brothers saga were attempts to corner the market, drove prices from $6 to nearly $50 an ounce, a bubble that burst, but not before exposing the vulnerabilities in paper-based trading systems. Fast forward to the 2008 financial crisis, when sovereign debts in Europe teetered on the edge. Greece's bailout became a cautionary tale, and gold climbed from $800 to $900, rewarding those who saw the writing on the wall. These weren't isolated events. They were harbingers of how nation-state failures, marked by hyperinflation, currency devaluations, and loss of investor confidence, invariably propel precious metals skyward, as people and governments alike seek refuge in assets that have endured for millennia. In each case, the collapse wasn't just economic. It was deeply human. Families watching savings evaporate, retirees facing poverty, and a collective yearning for stability that only hard money could provide. Emotions that stir even now, as we witness the 2025 unraveling, building on these historical lessons. The current wave of sovereign crises in 2025 has amplified silver's role in ways unprecedented, turning it into a weaponized asset amid geopolitical tensions that pit East against West. In a battle for resource dominance, the United States, grappling with a government shutdown, averted only by last-minute deals, saw gold and silver break higher as debt concerns overshadowed temporary relief, with silver extending gains, fueled by emerging economic weakness, and tariff uncertainties meanwhile across the Pacific. China's strategic moves, imposing export controls on silver and ramping up nuclear expansion, have tightened global supplies, creating a permanent structural shift in the market that analysts describe as a collision of monetary and industrial forces. BRICS nations, expanding their influence, are accelerating de-dollarization by stockpiling gold and silver, hedging against the US dollar's erosion. As real yields roll over and inflation persists at 3%, despite Fed rate cuts, this isn't mere speculation. It's a calculated response to unsustainable global debt levels, where nations weaponize silver by hoarding it, restricting exports, and using it as leverage in trade wars, propelling prices upward. As supply chains strain and industrial demand, from solar panels to AI data centers devours what's left of above-ground inventories. At the heart of this tsunami lies silver's irreplaceable dual nature, a metal that bridges the ancient world of money with the cutting-edge demands of modern technology, making it uniquely positioned to explode in value amid crises. Unlike gold, which shines primarily as a store of value, silver powers the green revolution. Every solar installation requires vast quantities, with projections showing solar alone could consume nearly all new supply by 2030, while electric vehicles and data centers add layers of inelastic demand that no substitute can fully match. Yet, in times of sovereign distress, silver reverts to its monetary roots, a hedge against inflation and currency debasement that has protected wealth through empires' falls. As the Silver Institute reports, a fifth consecutive year of global deficits, 180 million ounces short in 2025 alone. The physical market tightens, with COMEX vaults running dry, and backwardation signaling desperate buyers willing to pay premiums for immediate delivery. This scarcity, exacerbated by mining peaks and depleting stockpiles, creates a feedback loop where crises amplify demand. Governments stockpile for strategic reserves, investors flee fiat, and industries compete fiercely, pushing prices from $42 in November to over $70 by December, a surge that evokes the emotional highs of discovery and the dread of missing out. As the waves of collapse gather momentum, the weaponization of silver becomes evident in the shadowy realm of market manipulation and the inevitable squeeze that follows, where legacy short positions by bullion banks crumble under the weight of reality. For decades, institutions like JP Morgan have dominated the paper silver market, selling futures contracts on metal they didn't hold, suppressing prices to maintain control. But 2025's crises have shattered this illusion, with delivery requests surging and inventories collapsing. Those naked shorts, placed when silver languished, at fractions of today's value, are triggering massive margin calls, stressing balance sheets, and forcing covers in a panic that drives prices higher. Posts from traders and analysts buzz with warnings of a mother of all squeezes, and where the physical market finally dictates terms, backwardation persists, and retail shops run out of stock, echoing the 1980 crisis, but on a global scale. This isn't abstract finance, it's a human drama, where small investors who stacked silver bars watch their holdings double, then triple, while those tied to depreciating dollars face ruin, a wealth transfer that tugs at the heartstrings of fairness and foresight. Delving deeper into the emotional core of this tsunami, we see how sovereign collapses ripple through lives, turning silver into a beacon of hope amid despair. As families in debt-stricken nations, like Argentina or Lebanon, relive the nightmares of hyperinflation, their savings wiped out, while silver holders emerge resilient. In the US, retirees on fixed incomes watch inflation erode their pensions. But those who diversified into silver find solace in its ascent, a story of redemption for the prudent, and a cautionary tale for the complacent. The suspense builds as we consider the geopolitical chessboard, Russia's pivot to precious metals, India's voracious appetite for silver in jewelry and tech, and the Middle East's oil-rich states, diversifying away from petrodollars, all converging to weaponize silver. Against Western dominance, emotional highs peak in tales of overnight millionaires like the anonymous stacker, who turned a modest investment into a fortune as silver hit $55 in November, symbolizing the triumph of tangible over ephemeral. Yet curiosity lingers. How high can it go? Forecasts vary, but with structural deficits. Negative real rates and escalating crises. $100 by year-end feels plausible. $300 in the next cycle inevitable. And $500, a stratosphere peak, not out of reach. If the tsunami fully crashes, transitioning to the climax of this narrative, we arrive at the breaking point, where the sovereign collapsed tsunami meets the silver squeeze head-on, a convergence that could redefine global finance in real time, as silver breaches $70, triggering regulatory windows for banks to post billions in collateral they can't muster. The system strains toward failure, with analysts warning of suspensions in trading and defaults on contracts that expose the fragility of paper promises. This is the moment of truth. Physical silver, scarce and strategic, becomes the ultimate weapon, as nations and investors alike demand delivery, collapsing the gold-silver ratio from 121 to historic lows, and overshooting fair value in a frenzy of buying. The emotional crescendo hits as we envision the fallout, markets halting, fortunes made and lost, great reset where silver's rise to $500 isn't hype, but a mathematical certainty, born of deficits, devaluation, and demand, a peak that cements its place in the pantheon of assets that survive empires, in the satisfying denouement of this epic saga. As the dust settles on the sovereign collapse tsunami, silver stands tall, not just as a metal, but as a testament to enduring value in an era of uncertainty, propelling us toward a future where hard assets reclaim their throne. We've traversed the hooks of crisis, the suspense of shortages, the emotional roller coaster of wealth shifts, and the climax of squeezes, all leading to this a call to awaken, to recognize that in the weaponization of silver lies both warning and opportunity. As prices eye $500 in the stratosphere, driven by the inexorable forces of nation-state frailty, remember that history doesn't repeat, but rhymes, and those who heed its lessons, stacking silver, diversifying wisely, will navigate the waves to prosperity, while others are swept away. This is the Silver Revolution, a beacon in the storm, illuminating a path through the darkness, of collapse to a brighter, more resilient tomorrow. Thank you for staying with me till the end. Here on The Scope, we dig past the headlines and uncover the hidden layers history tried to bury. If this documentary made you think differently, hit subscribe. Your support tells me to keep creating deeper investigations. Share this video with someone who loves powerful untold stories, and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. A new, even stronger documentary is already on the way. So stay curious, and I'll see you again soon, right here on The Scope.